Okay, this video is this is about the splenic flexure syndrome, and this is the most updated one I have. So it's today's January 15th, and this is the culmination of everything I've tried to explain, and this is so hard to explain how this has affected my life, and it's probably different from you. But I'll do my best to try to explain. This affected my psychological state, and that's a different story. But, you know, people who suffer physical things also have mental things too, and I'll try to explain that. Maybe you'll understand, but I have bipolar disorder, and I'm just going to put that there. I'm going to tell you what the splenic flexure syndrome has done to my bipolar disorder. But first I'm going to go through it. I don't find there's enough helpful information about this subject, and the reason I make this video today is because I forgot a pain medication last night that I'm supposed to take. I woke up this morning and holy cow, just held a pain for a long time, many hours. So if you ask me, this is the abdominal condition that there is out there, acute. That's the most confusing of them all, probably the most colicky and most painful of them. That's chronic and intractable. You know, there's Crohn's, colitis, all those things. And in my opinion, this is the one that has like there's not a lot of people who have this, who get this. And there's a lot of unnecessary surgeries that I've read about, people getting their organs taken out, that along those lines. So the symptoms really are gas, bloating, diarrhea, sharp pain, jabbing pain, colic attacks, so colitis, fullness, distension, gas, which is kind of the same thing as just regular gas. They are kind of different, I find. Constipation, fever, chest pain, and in me, one of the causes of my breathlessness that I have is the splenic flexure syndrome. One of the reasons. So is this a subtype of IBS, just like an IBS on steroids? It appears that way, but I mean, there's no proof that it is. It's trapped distension, right? That gets shoved up into your spleen. And I'm going to show you a diagram too. I'm going to show you what happens. So also with that, you get rib pain up in your spleen, or if you have it in your hepatic side, then it'll go through referred pain to the back. This spleen up into the rib, out through the back. It can go through my spine and up the back of my head, but I have other reasons that happens too for me. But what makes it worse? Alcohol, certain foods, sugar, soda, smoking. Your life is going to change if you have this, I find. And it did for me. I had to quit smoking. I had to do that. I had to quit a million foods. The list for this, so just look at splenic flexure syndrome, foods allowed and not allowed. And the list of disallowed foods, which you can look on FODMAP too. Look up FODMAP. That's an IBS, Crohn's, colitis chart that says high FODMAP or low FODMAP, sugar foods, what's good. But for splenic flexure, this is a different list altogether. This list is basically all foods, and I'm not kidding. You're going to have to look that up specifically, though, because there's so many of them. For me, the reason mine started is because I had abdominal surgery. I got adhesions, and they're really heavy, and they mechanically caused mine. But it's the same thing. So for me, I get attacks that when I start to eat, or close to when I'm going to eat again, I feel like a jabbing up into my ribs and my spleen. It goes through the back. I start to become severely irritable, agitated. I start to become breathless. I get chest pain. It's bad, and it's acute abdominal pain. I don't know what to say. This has taken many years just to figure it out and to decipher one thing from another. I have many different difficulties. So if you have this alone, it makes it a lot easier. But you're going to have to change your diet, and you're going to have to exercise. You're going to have to drink water. So what works for me, I take a medication for the acute abdominal pain called Buscopan. It's these little white pills. That's for the acute abdominal pain. I use them for other reasons too, but they work very good. Frequent small meals. I save my last big meal. The only big meal I have is at dinner time, and I have that right before bed. You're not supposed to do that, but it works for me. Frequent small meals. You may find you get gas in your stomach, like a gastritis, and you may find you burp up a lot. Fair enough. See, I'm breathless right now. This is the way I am, and this is a nightmare thing. So what I want to stress with this syndrome is what I had to do. This was so bad for me, and I was stuck in a bed with this, bedbound, because I have a spinal condition. It was so bad, jabbed me up in my rib. I couldn't breathe. I was so irritable and agitated. It made my bipolar turn into like psychotic events, and I wasn't sleeping, turned into huge delirium and a vicious cycle. That's what this syndrome is just a vicious cycle over and over and over. And I had to learn how to go to the bathroom because I take opioids all over again. I had to learn how to do that all over again. So when I get up, I eat. After I eat, I'll make my food, I'll go wash my face or whatever. Then I'll come out and I'll exercise every day. I have to do it. I actually don't take days off. So I exercise. And with that, I drink enough water. I don't drink anything but water. And I pace my water throughout the day. I take 2 walks a day. And the truth is, if I didn't take those walks, and I love walking. I always loved walking. But I do it to push my stool along. Because if I didn't walk, and when you walk, it forces, distension, all that stuff. So that's one reason. Bring water with you and just drink water throughout the day. So every time I do this, I always forget something. Your diet is going to be key. Frequent small meals are going to be key. Maybe Buscopan or Diacetyl might be key for you. This can turn on you in seconds, and it can come just before you eat or when you start eating. You may find sometimes when you actually start eating, you may feel better. Many times I do. So see if I can show that there. I don't know how well that is, but here's your colon that goes, so that's backwards, isn't it? It looks backwards. Anyways, that's your ascending colon going up, right? Some people have pain here, but all the stuff gets trapped in your transverse colon. So it gets trapped there. And then when you eat and your stomach is like up here, all that gas and stuff starts getting trapped and pushed up into your spleen. And then when you're done eating, it may kind of wear off. For me, I'll eat and it'll be so bad that I gotta go for a walk right after. Immediately I start to feel better. I'm like, okay, 2 seconds ago, my psychological state was just so irritable, and then when I start walking, it disappears. So is it in my mind, or is it the abdominal condition? It's the abdominal condition. That's what the splenic flexure does to me. Drink enough water, get your sleep, and it might be difficult to learn how to go to the bathroom and all that, seriously. But probably the most helpful thing to me has been Buscopan. Or Buscopan hyoscine scopolamine. Pretty good for acute abdominal pain. And I can't avoid opioids because I have intractable pain. And what happens is the thicker your stool becomes, like the thicker it is, the harder it's going to jab up in there. So make sure you're going to the bathroom. So what can make it worse are things like opioids. And another thing, I use CBD. I vape CBD. That makes me constipated. I benefit risk. But if you don't have any other pains, try to go about it in a natural way, because I wish I could. Anyways, that's what I have to say about the splenic flexure syndrome. January, I think today is January 15th or 16th, 2021.